Welcome to the channel about news from around the world. While you subscribe and like it, we're going to start.
Since the Western press cannot lie outright, at least they do it all the time, comments and interpretations remain a favorite field for manipulation. That is, the facts are given accurately, but conclusions are drawn, as they should be. More recently, Bloomberg stated that China has recently concluded more LNG contracts than any other country in the world. What's more, the agreements are super long-term. For example, in November 2022, the Chinese signed a historically longest contract with Qatar, for 27 years. More recently, a second one was signed in June 2023. The motivation on both sides is clear. With growing competition in world LNG markets due to Europe's separation from Russian pipelines and increasing domestic consumption, Beijing wants to ensure a reliable and stable fuel supply. Qatar, on the other hand, is investing huge sums in the facilities under construction and needs an ironclad guarantee of demand. That is more than understandable to any sensible country. Against this backdrop, it is interesting how Bloomberg interprets the situation. China is buying gas as if there is still an energy crisis going on. Well, first of all, the crisis really hasn't gone anywhere. Blue fuel prices have fallen exclusively because of the huge drop in consumption in Europe against the background of deindustrialization. The crisis is structural and far from being resolved. It is enough to look at the volatility of gas prices. As soon as the thermometer moves in a dangerous direction, there is a rollercoaster ride. All this instability in Europe is quite advantageous to the USA. After all, if they wanted to save them, they would sign long-term contracts. However, no one is going to do that. First, the Europeans are still on the hook for the green agenda, and second, U.S. companies are much more likely to cash in on the spot than on long-term contracts. They are the world's biggest LNG supplier at the moment. Europe itself has been turning a nose up at long-term agreements for many years. Even last year, when the Germans were humiliating Qatar with a request to substitute Russia, the stumbling block was still the unwillingness to enter into long-term agreements. Carbon neutrality, renewables and other mirages in the wilderness are not giving him a break. The green lobby has been fed for so long that it can't just be knocked out. There was one exception. The Germans signed one contract for 15 years. But let's get back to Bloomberg's strange interpretation that there is no crisis and China's behavior is illogical. Of course, the United States strongly dislikes all this celebration of Beijing's disobedience in company with the Gulf monarchies. But there is nothing they can do about it. The Chinese are unlikely to be impressed by the articles in the Western press. The message here is rather aimed at the European reader. They say everything is fine, go on boiling. It's, those over there, do not know what they are doing. And everything goes according to plan with you. Or what if in Europe they want to wake up and also require a bit of stability for themselves? Though personally I already doubt it. All his organs are metastasized. The patient is essentially hopeless. I'll conclude with this. Some people are already taking this news to Russia. They say, look, China is stuck with contracts with Arabs. And where will the Siberian power go now? Well, first of all, nowhere. There is nothing more stable and cheaper than a pipeline. Secondly, in case of a potential military conflict, the US can simply cut off Beijing's sea supply by cutting off the Strait of Malacca, which takes up to 80% of China's oil and gas imports. And then no one but Russia will be able to save them.
Thank you for watching. If you're interested, subscribe and leave a comment.